Oh, what a beautiful morning, even though it's foggy. How many of you saw the corn is as high as an elephant's eye when you came in on Page Street? Neither did I. However, what I did see is just down a couple of doors down is an incredible bougainvillea. So the point is there is awe all around us. You don't have to be in Kansas to see the corn and that awe. And I want to give you some examples of that in my life and that I've researched. So a couple of years ago, Dave and I were in Yosemite, and we were walking up to Vernal Falls, and there was a path up, and then there was a path coming down. And we're walking up and trudging up. It's quite a hill, and somebody going down turns around and goes, "Alan?" And I looked and looked. I didn't recognize the person. And he said, "I'm John. I was your apprentice in summer stock 40 years ago." Now, for me, that was an awe moment. For you, you might say, well, that's just a coincidence. But I think it's more than a coincidence, because just at that moment, it's like, what if I had turned a slightly different path? What if he had been talking to someone and didn't look at me? All these things had to line up just in that second. And so for me, that is an awe moment. When my mom was 82, she took her first plane ride. And I met her at the airport, and she got off the plane. I said, "Ma, how did you like your first flight?" And she said, "It's wonderful. You could see the tops of the clouds." And I thought that was an awe moment for her. I flew a lot, as much as 100,000 miles a year, and I hardly ever looked at the tops of the clouds. But that was an awe moment for her. So there are awe moments all around us, and one of them I heard on the radio while I was writing my book, and I thought, this was amazing. So it was 3 prisoners who were getting out of prison one day, and there was a reporter there asking each of them, what's the first thing you want to do, or what are you looking forward to, basically, when you get out of prison? And the first one naturally said, well, I'm looking forward to seeing my family. And the second one said, I have loved baseball. I haven't seen a real baseball game in years, a live baseball game. I'm looking to going to a baseball game. And the third prisoner, and this is what amazed me, said, I'm looking to open the refrigerator. For him, that was an awe moment, and I thought that was kind of a crazy answer. But I also thought he had not opened a refrigerator to get a glass of milk or a cold glass of water or a piece of fruit or make his own sandwich for maybe 20 years. And so for him, that was an awe moment. So as you see from those stories, awe is kind of in the eyes of the beholder. And it's also takes different shapes and sizes. And it's also a little difficult to explain exactly what it is. When I first started writing the book, I had coffee with my agent, Michael Larson, my former literary agent, who is in the audience today. Thank you for being here, Michael. Michael sold my first book, The Healing Power of Humor, so I'm very grateful for that. But one question you asked me, Michael, I don't know if you realize how important that question was. And you said, Alan, what is awe? And I remember I gave you some answer off the top of my head, and I also realized when I went back home, I wasn't satisfied with that answer. So I started doing more and more research, particularly because I was writing the book. And what I found, the dictionary, one of the definitions, there's many, but one of them says, awe is the reverence mixed with fear and wonder. And I thought, fear? I don't associate fear with awe. And yet then I remember when I was a child and there was thunder and lightning, I would be scared stiff and I would hide under the blanket. So there was fear. I was in awe of the lightning, but the noise put me under the blanket. So then I looked at researchers. What do researchers say about awe? So what I found was that they say when you see something that awes you, it expands it kind of challenges who you are in the world. You get to see your world in a different way. And, I thought those are good explanations, but it's not one that really sat well with me. So I started to do research and asking a lot of people what awe was for them. And what I found, a lot of them, and you may feel this too, when you see something that awes you, maybe you feel like it's taking your breath away, knocked your socks off, gave you goosebumps. Or maybe you even went, oh my God, because it was so immense, so big that you couldn't really grasp it. You couldn't explain it. So I thought, well, I came up with my own acronym of what awe is. And AWE, I came up with a wow experience. Whenever I say, wow, I'm having a little bit of awe. So that was some of the research that I did. And I also was looking at, well, why is awe important? And what I found that researchers, only in the last 8 to 10 years, have been doing research on this important emotion. And what they found is that a number of studies, and I have some of them in the book, what they found was that awe can help us be healthier and happier. One of the studies, and this amazed me, says if you can find some awe in your life, it will help decrease any inflammation you have. Keep us healthier. It also reduces our stress, some of the studies have shown. And this next one may be really important for unity, because it said if you see something that awes you, you will be more generous. And I thought, Deanne, we should have photos of awe when we're asking for tithing. Have photos of awe up there. it could help us. So, I want to show you to give you an example of what awe is, because nature is the #1 generator of awe. If you want more awe in your life, get out in nature, or just look at a flower and something like that. So here's sunsets and sunrises often will awe us. I know David and I were in Hawaii, and if you go to the beach at night when the sun sets, there's often a green flash. And not every night, but quite a number of nights. Look at this sunset. Amazing. And then this photo. This is in Norway. And when the dictionary said fear and wonder, I looked at this the first time and my stomach dropped. So, yes. Nature, get out in nature to get more awe. So I just want to tell you about one recent research. It came out last September. It was in Motion Journal. And they took 2 groups of 52 people. These are mostly older people, 60, 70, 80 years old. And they told both groups, we want you to go out once a week for 15 minutes and go out mostly to go in nature, but even in cityscapes, to go out and find something, to just go out and take a walk. 2 groups, same thing, take a walk. The one group, though, they pulled aside and they said, what we'd like you to do is when you go out on your walk, to find something that awes you, something that amazes you, and then just see how you feel at that time. And then they did that for 8 weeks, so they only went out once a week, 15 minutes for 8 weeks, and then they compiled the research that they were doing. And they found the group that did not have that awe prompt, they said things like, one woman said, well, I'm going on a trip in a couple of days, I'm not packed, I have to go buy stuff, I don't have time. What they found was those people would worry about everyday things or things that they were really concerned about. The awe group, on the other hand, said they had more positive emotions, less negative emotion, And overall, compared to the other group, they were happier. So what I'm saying is just go out 15 minutes and have that prompt to look for something that will awe you, and probably it will. So I said nature is the number one generator of awe, but there's also man-made awe. How many of you have seen Cirque du Soleil? And I don't know about you, but every show I am awed, many times actually during the show, and I've seen many of those. And it's incredible, interesting at least to me, that they say in their ads, they say Cirque du Soleil that we have 5 senses, and Cirque du Soleil gives you the 6th sense, which is awe. So want more in your life? Go see a Cirque du Soleil show. Also, space travel. Is that not incredible? There are 10 people right now living on a spaceship somewhere out there, up there. You know, they are eating, they are going to the bathroom, they're out there somewhere. And just this morning, Richard Branson is up there in space too. He's getting ready to offer that as like an airline ticket for people, and a lot of people have signed up. It costs $250,000. So I thought I'd ask him on next auction, maybe he'll give us one. But I heard this on the radio yesterday, and this little, you know, this big awe says little, this was a little awe. The name of his ship, the spaceship that he's riding this morning, anyone know what it is? It's Unity. You know, you heard, you know, you can't make this stuff up. It just, and then what about gigantic skyscrapers? You know Salesforce building, right, in this very city. Imagine putting 2 of those on top of each other, right? You got that picture? That would not be the tallest building in the world. Tallest building in the world is in Dubai, and the thing that amazes me is next year that's not going to be the tallest building, there's going to be one higher. So man-made awe also. So the other thing, the other way to get or notice, I guess, awe is our connections with other people. And often things happen that's kind of amazing. So I want to share with you, I want to read from my book. It's something that happened to me at Unity a number of years ago on the other Bush Street Unity. Dave was teaching a class on giving and taking. And during the class, any of you that don't know that facility, it's this storefront, has a little lobby, and then the sanctuary was in the back. And during the class, this young, pretty disheveled young man came into the lobby. And Dave and another member, Robert Kane, who was taking the class, went to this young man to see what the man wanted. And then Dave came back to teach the class, and then Robert went out with the man in the street and came back about 10, 15 minutes later and told us this incredible story. So one of the things I'm awed about is that man-made glasses, so I could see. Not only could I see, but I want to share with you that this year I have glaucoma, and I had a little, I have a little, tube in this eye. I'm sorry, I have a little, how can I point? I have a little, in this eye, anyhow, the miracles and amazement of medical stuff is quite, that was my point. Anyhow, so Robert came back and told us this story. It seems that the unkempt stranger was walking the streets hoping to find some solace in a church. But being nighttime, they were all closed. He passed our spiritual center and walked in thinking we were having a service. In chatting with him, Robert found out that this young man needed $18 to get to Fresno, where he said he could get some sort of housing. He stated that a check was being sent there for some work he had done, but couldn't get it until he checked into his living quarters. Like many of us feel when someone asks for a handout, Robert initially felt that he was being taken. Maybe this hardship story wasn't true at all. Maybe he didn't really need the money. Maybe he repeats the same woe is me story to a lot of people. Nevertheless, Robert didn't listen to those negative thoughts, especially after the class was discussing inner center giving, which involves giving without expecting anything in return. After much trouble getting the ATM machine across the street to work, Robert withdrew $20 and gave it to the young man, who then went on his way. When Robert returned to the class, found a number of remarkable things in what happened. Among them was that the young man, who could have asked for any amount of money, only requested $18. What's so amazing with this is that the Jewish tradition, the number 18, is chai in Hebrew. And it means life. And in its plural form, chayam is often a toast, l'chaim, to life. Robert also told us that the man's name was Matthew, one of the 12 apostles whose name means gift of God. The appearance of the young man, just as we were discussing the act of giving and all its ramifications, seemed so impeccably timed that we joked with Dave that he had hired this actor to provide the perfect illustration for the lesson. Of course, that wasn't true, but it provided a bit of levity into what seemed like a somewhat mysterious occurrence. After the class, I kept wondering if this was a scam after all. When I got back home, I checked to see if there was a train from San Francisco to Fresno at 1:15 in the morning, the time Matthew said it would be leaving. There wasn't. And in addition, there wasn't any train either during the daytime or at night that cost anywhere near $18. So, who knows if Matthew was telling the truth or not? But somehow it didn't seem to matter. It was a very small price to pay for such a great example of giving. And who knows? Maybe he was indeed a gift from God. So I want to go back a little to the research and why is awe important. How to get, since the research says that awe is really important, how to get more awe in your life. So I have lots of examples in the book, but I'll just do 3 of them right now. One of them is set your intentions. I have a TEDx talk, and it is on intention. And just like the people in the awe walk, one group without the intention did not find awe, the other did. So set your intention to find awe. A couple of years ago, I took a class called Wonder Hunt. It's a 2-week class, and every day they gave us a prompt, one word, to go out and find things like that word or that word representing that word, and take a photo of it. And I had been walking my dog several times a day, and I had also planted morning glories around the front gate. And every day I walked, back and forth. It wasn't until I had that intention of looking for hearts that I realized every leaf on the morning glory vine was in the shape of a heart. And there were tons of them. But I had never seen it without my intention. So the other thing is, Be curious. Grow down. Be like a child. And Zen believes in seeing the world with beginner's mind. I remember once David and I were in a cafe and we had our previous dog. It was a golden retriever, had this big, beautiful plume-like tail, and the dog was chained up to the outside gate and so we could see it. And this little 2-year-old came and saw the dog's tail and just was, went over and the dog would wave the tail and the kid would get hysterical with laughter. And the breeze and the tickling. And it was just amazing to watch how this dog's tail was like an awe for this little kid. Didn't know anything about awe, but it just was his whole being at that time, his whole wonder of finding that. And the third thing, I think, to find more awe in your life is to look closer. David and I were in Holland pre-COVID, and it was tulip time. And we went to a place called Keukenhof Gardens. And they plant, I'll show you a photo. They plant 7 million tulips and other bulbs too. 7 million tulips. And just walking around every turn, every corner, they were different tulips and different designs, and it was truly awe-inspiring. And looking at tulips can be awe-inspiring, but the little tip for you is look closer. When I looked inside the tulip, that's when what really blew me away. The shapes, the colors, the design, it just amazed me. So look closer. So, Michael Larson, I finally have the answer to what awe is after doing all this research. This is what I finally came to a conclusion, at least for me, maybe not for you, what awe is. Awe is the presence of the divine in the world. If you can find awe in something, you are finding the divine. As in Unity, we talk about awe being in here and out there. So look for awe and you will be connected to the divine. So what if I said to you that the most awe-inspiring thing is sitting right in this room? All of you. It's so amazing that you could hear me, that I could see you, almost, that I could smell those flowers. Well, maybe not, they're not real, but but the most amazing thing is our bodies. They are incredible. I mean, you are breathing in and out right now with one breath keeping you alive. It is just so amazing. So I found a video on YouTube, and it's put together by, now I forgot their name. Do I have it written down? Anyhow, it'll be on the video. And so I want to show that to you, because it illustrates the point I am making.
The expression I use is I say we're all masterpieces and works in progress simultaneously. So to be human is to be extraordinary. I have a quote which says, even on your worst day, you're a living miracle. If you think about the trillions of reactions that are happening just within the biochemistry of our physicality, it's overwhelming. That we can eat food with friends at a dinner table and our body will take care of the process of digestion, when to secrete the bile from the bile ducts, when to release more hydrochloric acid to break down the food, so that the apple that you just ate at some point will become a liver cell. I mean, that is just mind-blowing, like magic, right? Yet we don't think about it. So when you really understand the endless myriad of transactions that are happening in the human brain and the human body that actually gives us the experience of being alive, it's humbling. You kind of can't help but feel a sense of gratitude and grace by virtue of the fact that I have a human, as a human, I have the capacity to see the people I love. The fact that I can smell, the sense that I can hear the dulcet tones of a loved one or a child telling me what they feel. And I can taste the extraordinary abundance of these different flavors that we get to experience by virtue of Mother Nature. Just those 5 senses that we take for granted every day. From when you really get it, it becomes impossible to not revere life, your own and others, to recognize what an immaculate conception every being is by virtue of the gift that it is that we get to experience life at all. Something that really hit home many years ago was that just to be alive is itself a miracle. And from that moment forth, I stopped berating myself. I'm not perfect. And there's so much humility and patience that we can develop when we understand that and then afford others. If we could afford each other just a little bit more patience, a little bit more compassion, a little bit more empathy for the fact that it is difficult, it is sometimes challenging to take on a new task, and that's okay, then that again would make for a much more loving and accepting society. But within that, we never neglect the magic that it is to be a human being.
So the words are spoken, I think it's called Fearless Soul Team, put that together, except, let me tell you in a moment, the words are by Peter Crone, and the video that you see, our wonderful Ryan Harvey did that. Woohoo! Yes. Amazing. So anyone that knows me knows that I love Broadway musicals. I was brought up at 7 years old. I was taken to see Oklahoma. And so it's very fitting that Tammy sang Oh, What a Beautiful Morning from Oklahoma to open the talk today. But there was a show I remember seeing in the late 50s. It was called Flower Drum Song. Remember that? And it had an incredible song in it called 100 Million Miracles. Misa, you want to come up and sing it? Maybe next week. Incredible song, and it talks about all of the miracles in our life every single day. So I invite you to go out and look for those 100 million miracles. Look for those wow experiences like Tammy singing their voices or Misa's voice. Incredible. Look for the corners as high as an elephant's eye or the bougainvillea down the block, because there is awe all around us. And I invite you to look for it. So I want to close with an Einstein quote. And he said or wrote, "There are 2 ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle, and the other is as though everything is a miracle."